All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're enjoying your lunch. We're going to kick off this Q&A with Dr. Chris Shade, which I'm super stoked about. These are always really fun and honestly always very easy for me. You guys hear me on the mic? And always quite easy for me as well because he's got a lot of wisdom in there. So I actually wanted to kind of start just because when we were here in May, Performance Cardio, which is the product that we've been pushing before, the HBOD, and that a lot of you have tried, was like, it was just kind of something he was kind of teasing us about. It was kind of wasn't out yet. Do we need to wait for the sound? No? Okay. So I kind of wanted to just start with that. And then as Dr. Shade is answering this question, if you guys think of whatever you want to ask the man, just get those questions ready because this is going to be kind of like popcorn. But Dr. Shade, for Performance Cardio, what went into that product? What is it about the formula? What mechanisms and why did you create it?
We had a product called Nota Bravi, which was Nota ginseng. People know the ginseng's the Panax ginseng. There's one called Nota ginseng, and it's really good. It's a circulatory ginseng. It moves energy, and we had something called bravascapian in it, which helps move blood up to the brain. And we decided to split that product in two products, and one would be Nanofuel, the nootropic, and the other ended up being Performance Cardio. So we wanted a nice circulatory formula. And we're also, coincidentally, COVID was going on, and COVID has this massive hypercoagulability to the blood, real circulation issues. Like it's a serious problem. It's a serious cardiovascular problem. Spike protein, whether it's from vaccines or from having it, it's a real problem. And so there was a need for that. And one of the guys who works with us is a acupuncturist, a Chinese herbalist. And so we talk a lot about, what kind of herbs do we want in there? And so in this, you basically have, everybody talks about nitric oxide, and let's open up nitric oxide, vasodilator, and there, maybe you're taking beet extract or nitrates or citrulline. But there's all the enzymes in the body that drive the use of those substrates and really drive the formation of the nitric oxide. And that's nitric oxide synthase. And so we started looking at these different herbs that go in. One is called danshen. It's a Chinese herb that's used extensively for cardiovascular issues in China. In fact, there's tons of research on it alone for heart disease and blood pressure, or in combination with different drugs, and it's always a good thing. So that was like, sort of the king herb, they call it. And then, of course, hawthorn. Think of that as a Western herb, but it's used extensively in China as well. So the hawthorn and the danshen were sort of up at the top. And then there's this idea about clearing stagnation. So what are we trying to do in a circulatory formula? We're trying to move qi. We're trying to move blood, open things up. We're trying to clear out stagnation. And there was a guy named Heiner Fruhoff, who was, he's a European, German probably, and he was an acupuncturist, and he was working a lot on what he called goose syndrome. So this is a big thing. Goose syndrome was this old idea of chronic cyclical parasitism, like when people have chronic Lyme or chronic biofilm diseases, you have this stuff coming and going, ebbing and flowing. Right, in its pathology. And to cure it, you have to move it, and you have to move the stagnation that it brings out. And some of the Ayurvedic herbs for that are boswellia and myrrh. These are moving and circulating. So we have these herbs that upregulate the nitric oxide synthase, and then ones that just help move and clear out stagnation. I mean, you could find data on them upregulated nitric oxide synthase too. But that's really the core of it. And when you taste it, you'll taste the boswellia. Boswellia is frankincense. So you taste this frankincense-like thing, and the cinnamon, a little bit of clove, and then those other herbs come in and move and turn up these nitric oxide enzymes, and then the L-citrulline is just coming in as the substrate for them to use. And so, I mean, it's really a beautiful formula. And like women with cold hands will take it, immediately warm up. Like even women with like Ray knows, men love it. You know, I was just at Upgrade XP and there's this doctor, you know, he's a little older than me. He's about 60. And he said, you know, I was taking all that arginine and all that stuff. And this freaking works. And all my guys are on it. You know, it's the old morning wood, you know, and you get, that's a circulatory issue. You go into a good functional doctor, they'll ask you, how do you poop? And if you're a guy, do you get morning wood? How are your erections? You know, and you know, and people tend to go fine, but then it's like, no, let's really think about the quality of this. You know, really, how is your erection? And so that's all a circulatory thing, and it's a big cardiovascular thing. It's also a risk for cerebrovascular disorders. So cognitive decline, early onset Alzheimer's, often those are cerebrovascular, and so anything that opens up blood flow is really beautiful for all of those activities and this constant health. And it was I have a good friend who, in fact, the Quinton water, the first guy who had it in North America, his name is Robert Slovak. Big water guy. A lot of people here know him. He didn't even remember having COVID, but he had the myocarditis. And he was always like my poster child for a guy in his 70s, running around young, you know, pain in the ass. And the guy was like 74, 75. And then all of a sudden he couldn't walk 20 feet. And it was all this circulatory problem, and 3 days on performance cardio, and he was back up and running. I saw him run across the room at Bulletproof at Upgrade XP, and that was really just great to see. And the last thing I want to say about it, a lot of people, I'll be like, oh, take this cardio formula. Like, no, nothing stimulating, like it's gonna like make your heart race. But actually these herbs in Chinese medicine are used for dispelling heart fire. Heart fire is this sort of collapsed chi in the center that's all hot, and you're irritable, and you lose your temper real easily. And these actually disperse all that and make all that heart energy flow. And so they're actually slightly tranquilizing and calming. So you'll see when you do high doses of it, you feel great, your circulation's great, but you're super calm.
Great answer. Thank you so much. And I know this doesn't seem like it's really on, and I don't think I need it anyway. Great. Other questions, guys? For Dr. Shade. Somebody's got, yeah.
So on the push catch protocol that you guys have created, while you're on that protocol, do you maintain your normal supplemental regimens?
Okay, great question. So we're talking about detoxification now. He said for push catch, which is our core detox, we have regular push catch, we have advanced push catch, we have even more advanced ones after that. And so this is a detoxification. It starts with this stuff called liver sauce. And afterward, you take this binder called Ultra Binder. So he's asking, do we stay on our other supplements? How are we going to integrate this in? So there's a couple of things. In general, no, you don't have to go off of the other stuff, but maybe you'll take it a different time of the day. Usually you're going to do this detox regimen twice a day. So you take the liver sauce. The liver sauce got a couple of programs in it. Kind of like, in the performance cardio, we got the substrate for the nitric oxide enzymes, and then we got the drivers of the enzymes, and then we got the clears of stagnation. So in liver sauce, you've got the one thing you have to couple detox to is bioflow. And so there's a traditional bitters mix in there, or something we call bitter X when it's a standalone. So it's opening up bioflow. Then we have things that turn up the cells to dump toxins out into circulation and activate the liver to pull those toxins in and dump them with the bile. So we're going from the cell to the blood, to the liver, to the bile. And 30 minutes later, we come in with this binder mix. It's activated charcoal and zeolites and clays, IMD, our metal binder, chitosan. It's kind of a mold binder. And so you're going to do this push out of the cells through the liver, catch with the binder. And then you're going to stack other stuff with it. So Maybe you're going to have glutathione with that because that's going to help move a lot of the toxins, especially the metals. Maybe you're going to be supporting the membranes and phospholipid help with membrane mend. You might need to calm inflammation while you're detoxifying and you're putting in CBD. So you're going to put all that stack together. You push, half hour later, catch, all those toxins go down. You wrap them up into a nice little bin. And so that is a complete cycle of detox there. And then you can do that twice a day. You do it 3 times a day. You know, single dose, double dose, triple dose. And you do that for a couple days in a row. You do either 5 days on, 2 days off, or you'll go 10 days on and then 4 days off. So, what else do you do with it? Now, the trigger we're trying to hit for the cellular detox is called NRF2. And it's triggered to go into the nucleus, and it turns up all the genes that code for antioxidant and detoxification chemicals that your body makes. And so you're turning up this master switch that gets all this chemoprotection going at once. So you want to optimize how well that switch is working. Now, there's another switch that we use a lot in this world, and that's called AMPK. AMPK, or the AMP kinase, is what's activated when you fast or carb restrict, keto diet. When you exercise, you burn up your available energy, and ATP turns to AMP, and the AMP kinase is signaled. And that stimulates you to be more effective at burning your carbon substrates. You will mobilize fat into ketones and burn ketones. You'll increase glucose transporters. You'll increase insulin sensitivity. So AMPK activation is something that we really like a lot. Now, AMPK activation happens to accelerate NRF2 activation. So the more AMPK activation you have, the easier the NRF2 turns on. So that means when we're doing that in the morning fasted, that's a great way to do it. So overnight when we're fasted, AMPK is higher, more active. And so it's great if we can do some intermittent fasting with that. And then at lunch, carb restrict even more. And overall in this period of detox, let's try to shrink down the carbs. You know, you don't have to get rid of them altogether, but if you do and you go totally keto, you're going to be moving fat-soluble toxins even more powerfully. So you're trying to align a couple of things. Then you also want to align other of the lifestyle things that you're doing. So sauna, I mean, this is just awesome. Push, sauna, catch. Like that works so freaking well. Sweating in general is good, but not like really go, go, go. So light movement is really good. Massage is good. Walking is good. The saunas are good. All in this period in between the push and the catch. And then again, overall in the day, if we do that fasting, that's great. Maybe move some of your supplements up and take them with lunch or with dinner. And that all kind of brings that whole system together. Yep.
So you use intermittent fasting, but is that analogous to the time restricted eating? Because I know in a way they kind of collided a little bit. Because like intermittent fasting was like, hey, I'm going to eat, I'm not going to eat for 18 hours and then I'm going to do something. But time restricted eating is like, well, I'm only going to have like a 3-hour window where I will eat.
Well, isn't that just extreme intermittent fasting? Time restricted eating?
Yeah, it's just looking at the same picture from the opposite side.
Yeah.
Terminology gets in the same play, but it's like
Yeah. Wake up, don't eat, do your detox, eat later, and eat less.
Not too late.
Yeah. And usually people will do 2 rounds of it. They'll do it in the morning, fasted, and then they'll do it in the evening, usually before dinner they do it. Yeah.
Great question. Who's next? Who's got a question for Dr.
Q's. I'll do the A's. I need some Q's.
Yeah.
There's a Q.
So with all of the supplements and things that we take, whether it be, tablets or liquids or injections, whatever, at what point is it too much?
When you look down at this stack of stuff that you have to take and you're like, God freaking Lord, that is too much. I always like to say that there's almost nothing almost nothing you should take every day. That a lot of these things are sort of stimulating the system and you let them calm down. Like with the detox, we'll go, 4 or 5 days in, then 2-3 days off. You're turning something up and you want to let it come back down. AMPK activators, sirtuin activators. I always like to give things a little time off. And, when that stack of supplements gets really, really big that you're taking, and then you're taking this and that and that and that, because you heard they were all good, it's usually time to take some of that out of there. Without getting into the details of what do we need to eliminate. But a lot of the practitioners will be like, first thing they do with you is, all right, bring your stack in. Nope. Cut all this stuff off. Don't do too much. And pulse things.
Your glutathione complex, is that something that, going by what you were just saying, could it not be taken every day, or take it so kind of like?
Yeah, there's a couple different ways to work with glutathione. You could just do it every day. I would still give a couple of just drop it some days. But glutathione's one that's not as bad to just sort of take steadily and just bring a little bit extra into the system. I tend to use it when I'm stressing the system. So every day. It's if I'm doing a detox, I want to throw stuff in because I know it's going to be used, it's going to be taken down. If I'm on plane rides, if I'm traveling, if I'm out drinking all this dry farm wine, then I'm going to bring in some more glutathione. And as soon as you get sick, people think about it for detox. It's an amazing immune thing. It was a huge thing during COVID. COVID blocks NRF2, and NRF2 is coding to turn on glutathione and turn all the enzymes with it and superoxide dismutase. COVID shuts down your whole inner antioxidant response. In fact, post-COVID, I have people take a lot of vitamin C, which usually, I don't lean that heavily on vitamin C as your primary thing. I like NRF2 upregulation, some glutathione, but a lot of vitamin C was coming after that. And so, in general, I like to not use glutathione all the time, but, it's something that you could do.
Any interest in incorporating monoatomic elements in your product?
Has there been any interest in incorporating monoatomic elements into my products? I spent years making that kind of stuff before I had Quicksilver. When I was in grad school, I was just freaking burning down gold and, getting pure rhodium and iridium, getting black sands, getting different ores from different places. I made all kinds of stuff like that. These are these super high energy forms of metals that are sort of spiritualized forms, and they wind up your kundalini. I don't think they do a whole lot for your body. There was an idea that M3, the platinum, rhodium, iridium, it was gold, rhodium, iridium, would work for cancer, but it's more of like a kundalini supplement. In fact, I was taking some this morning. It was popping off the chair over there as the kundalini was blowing through my head. So it's not really in the realm of Quicksilver Scientific. I don't see that as my thing to do. I keep those things kind of separate. I don't think we've really understood them enough to know exactly where they plug in with these health modalities.
My patient population that I know,
Yeah.
very, so your thoughts on how tough it is about putting them on a program with a whole bunch of supplements and things like that. Your thoughts on that with the
Yeah, so she's asking about ethanol concentration. We use a lot of ethanol in our products, and like in all of them, they have somewhere, they don't have a lot in it, but all the products have a little bit in it, usually 6 to 12%, depending on what the product is. And, if you have this big stack, all these liquids, you're going to build up a lot of ethanol. Now, it's something that we haven't run into as an issue. We're big in the autism world. We're big in the Lyme world, and all these people that are just absolutely sure the alcohol is going to decimate them. We don't find that it does. Now, any of the super sensitive people, you're going to start with smaller doses anyways. And you're working, everything that we do is work in liver pathways. And so your metabolism of any ethanol in there is going to be increased. Now, why do we have the ethanol in there? It's doing a couple of different things. We're making these lipid nanoparticles called liposomes and nanoemulsions, and you can dissolve the base phospholipids into the ethanol, and it helps kind of soften these membranes so we can get them down to these small sizes that absorb really quick. In the inside of your mouth, it's helping that, and the glycerin are helping to open up the porosity in there, so you're absorbing the particles better in there, and then it's acting as a stabilizer and an antimicrobial, so we don't have to put any other stabilizers or any other preservatives in the system. So it's got those three main reasons that it's in there. And, again, if you're super sensitive, you're going to start with low doses. I very rarely seen or heard of it actually being an issue, even with the kids.
All right, who's next? Anybody have a question?
Detox question.
If I can just piggyback on his question.
Yeah.
Push catch and detox.
Yeah.
When you do fasting,
Oh, it's great because fasting is activating AMPK, which is going to help you activate NRF2. The best detoxes I've seen are people fasting and detoxing. I mean, everything just starts tumbling out. Yeah. And you don't have to. I mean, we're hitting these triggers. So AMPK is triggered, while you're fasting, but there are sites on it that can be activated by nutraceuticals and pharmaceuticals. So metformin is the most famous AMPK activator pharmaceutical, and that's used pretty heavily in the anti-aging world. There's a lot of doctors that believe, most people should be on some metformin because it's so good like that. And in fact, the AMPK charts that we have, strong AMPK activator, and it'll flip you into ketosis in a half hour, 40 minutes if you take enough of a dose. So there are ways to activate that, and really, most of the things, even in the liver sauce, are AMPK activators to some degree. You get to the stronger ones like berberine, and then you can make more powerful products. But plants in general are where most of the AMPK activators are, and these are also anti-cancer things. So this is why vegan diets are great interventions. They're interventions for cardiovascular disease and for cancer, because you're taking all of these different AMPK activators and you're really cranking up autophagy very nicely. Long run, you wind systems down. And then you have like carnivore diets, and those are interventions for autoimmune. The autoimmune people are reactive to all the plant stuff. And so I just like to throw that out there because people get all like stuck into which of these diets they're going to do. It's like, well, what are you trying to do right now?
Right. I think that's an important, that's come up a few times, just sort of the context of everything.
Yeah.
And occasionally, and just because I use a lot of the products, I do a lot of push catch. You also can use AMPK charge as the push.
Yeah. So we just did this thing called BioAge Reversal. There's a poster on it over there. It was a 3-month program, and we did the epigenetic age before and after the program on 40 people. It was a pretty big study that I got to get out and get it published. But we did a 3-month program. The first month was our traditional push catch with the liver sauce and the binder, and added glutathione and cat's claw our cat's claw elite is good at moving out latent viruses, old viruses like Epstein-Barr, cytomegalovirus that are sitting in there and holding the system down. So this first month was this detox push catch. And then the second month, we took out the liver sauce, put in the AMPK charge. We wanted the detox to keep going, but now it's going to be more metabolic. And we're going to be moving more of the fat-soluble toxins. And we kept in the glutathione, we kept in membrane mend and the binder, and did it in that same push catch method. And then the third month, we took the binder out. We're like, okay, we've done enough of that, but we kept the AMPK charge in there, continuing to move autophagy. Those things are senolytics. And so AMPK charge is great because when you look at liver sauce and AMPK charge, they both have NRF2 upregulation, detox function. They both have AMPK activation, but the liver sauce is heavier on the liver and NRF2 and bioflow, and the AMPK charge is heavier on that autophagy and the metabolic side.
And it came up a little while ago. Oh, yeah. Go ahead, Karen.
Would you share that protocol with us?
Oh, yeah. I mean, we have copies of it over here. Yeah, and it was really nice. We were able to change. There's something called the Dunedin POAM or the Dunedin PACE algorithm, which takes the methylation of the genome and estimates a rate that you're aging at. And that's something that's easier to see in shorter times in interventions. You see, well, the rate of aging is slower now. Then we know the absolute age should usually be measured by the Horvath clock, the DNAM age test. And we were able to change both. There was it was a 3-month protocol, and it was like an average of reversing 1 year. So getting the absolute biologic age in 3 months was pretty awesome. And, I'd lecture in the anti-aging forums all the time. And it used to be, I was just the take out the trash guy at A4M. I was the guy in the back. I had the little mercury stand, and, I'd measure your mercury and give you mercury detox stuff. And I'm like, but the guys at the front, they do the really sexy stuff. They're really doing the anti-aging stuff. They got TOT. And, so they got the injectables and everything. And then as I got further into it, it came back so often to NRF2 and AMPK together, cleaning the system out and allowing the system to thrive. All of these interference on the system, as I called them perversions of your biology the other night, they're all aging your system, and they're all holding back the regeneration and the renewing of the system that's coming with these detox triggers. So detox isn't just taking away the interferent, but it's turning up the programs that are regenerative within the cell. In fact, when that goes down, when NRF2 goes down, there's all sorts of loss of function. There's mitochondrial decay. The cells go into senescence. And, we didn't talk that much about senescence, but a senescent cell is a cell where the programs to regrow are turned off, and it goes into this a senescent leaf is when it goes from green to yellow before it dies and falls. And so these cells become like that, and they start releasing pro-inflammatory aging cytokines, and they recruit other cells into this senescent pattern. So it's these radiating fields of inflammation and decay that are happening through the body. And so the more you detox, the more you remove these, and the more you pull the cell out of that sort of zombie-like program. And the stem cells as well. The stem cells will move into this senescence, and then, all is lost at that point, and you're just going off the cliff. And so the more we regenerate and turn up the detox triggers, the more it's turning the cell into the program of a younger, more vital thing. It's like glutathione levels go down with age. The redox potential goes up with age, becomes more oxidized. Telomerase, under the more oxidized conditions, stops working. Then the telomeres are going down. You go into the senescent patterns. And so keeping it clean is just central to all the longevity.
A little while ago at the booth, we were talking about hydrogen tabs.
Yeah.
And I know this is something, I mean, Leon starts every morning with one, right? We drop it in the water,
Yeah.
starting them early. But like, you know, in terms of dosage, you know, someone said they take 4 a day and it's like 4 at once or 1 every hour, or how do you recommend?
Yeah, you don't take hydrogen all day. Hydrogen is so these things like NRF2 activation, the AMPK activation, these are hormetic triggers. They're little things that go and like flip a switch and the body responds to it and turns up these programs for a little while. And if you keep this stuff going all the time, the switch gets habituated to it and it doesn't turn on. So it's not like, oh yeah, I always got hydrogen in my water. The idea of hydrogen as a selective antioxidant is probably lower in importance than hydrogen as an AMPK activator. It's a very nice AMPK and NRF2 activator. And you see a profile of hydrogen in the blood after you drink that glass, and it goes up, you know, in like 20, 30 minutes and, you know, another 20, 30 minutes down and out. So it comes in and it's a little boom. It's a little AMPK activator. That's why Tyler that lectures on it, he calls it an exercise mimetic. In fact, the AMPK charge, all the AMPK activators are exercise mimetics in that way. So you either want a whole bunch, you do all 4 at once or maybe twice a day. They don't really know what the limit is to it, but it's not something that you just drink all the time.
Would you say it's a good idea that my 2-year-old is having hydrogen in the morning?
We'll talk about that offline, Joe. No, I think it is. Yeah, hydrogen is a nice thing. So hydrogen, it's funny because it's a true supplementation. Hydrogenophiles are bacteria that make hydrogen in your GI tract. And in fact, when you have an overgrowth like SIBO in your upper GI, they actually measure high hydrogen levels in your breath. And it's a marker that you have this overgrowth. But not everybody has the bacteria that are making hydrogen. And there's all this, it's apparently been with us. We've evolved with it. There's all these things that in the body that do rely on hydrogen or respond to hydrogen. And it's something that's supposed to be coming in these flushes when these microbes are growing, but not everybody has those microbes. So you'll see some people take the hydrogen and it's miraculous for them. And other people are like, eh.
Do you have any other questions out there? Yeah, Alexia.
Maybe an unusual one, but if you were focused on the young adult population, say like somewhere between 14 and 18ish, which of your products do you think would likely be most beneficial for, mostly healthy young adults?
You kind of. So she asked for young adults, 13 to 18. Those are kids to me, but. What kind of things are good for them? You gotta, what's in the kids? What does the kid need? Where is his weakness? I have a son who's a type 1 diabetic. He gets AMPK charge a lot. He gets vitamin C with lipoic acid a lot. Those are all things that help with, utilizing glucose. If they're just like, they'll only take one thing, give them the ultravitamin. It's the most bioavailable vitamin out there. There's all kinds of things in there. If you're trying to kind of help them have a good base, for lack of a better word, as they grow and help harmonizes that, they're going to have a lot of mitochondrial density and a lot of hormone changes. I would go with the membrane men. That's a great one. And the ketone, they respond really well to that. So you've got sort of core things there, ultravitamin, membrane men, ketone. And, but then, are they getting enough sun? Well, the ultravitamin will have the vitamin D, the shots of immune charge during the season when people are starting to get sick, those are real helpful. If they need to detoxify, you put them right on any of those different detox systems.
Great question. Karen.
For kids, we've had conversations of anxiety or PTSD.
Oh yeah. I'm sorry about that's actually the most common one used for kids is the CBD, any of the CBD. So, you have to kind of dial in which one works best for them. Just the basic full spectrum CBD. If it's a high anxiety, often the CBD Synergies AX for anxiety. That's CBD with GABA and skullcap and 5-HTP and maybe one or two other herbs or essential oils in there. But CBD is a huge one for the anxious mind, the ADD mind. You'll find that they have much less social anxiety and a much better attention span in school.
You had a study on the CBD, right? Just about absorbability.
Yeah, that was like a 10-person bioavailability study, and there was 6 times more absorption. But the beauty is, with all these things, I didn't talk about it, but the absorption is really immediate. You take these things in your mouth, you hold them. We did a B12 study. In 2 minutes, there was this big spike in the blood. When we've been doing the hormones recently, 5 minutes, you're just way up. And, the peak will come anywhere between 15 and 25 minutes, depending upon how long you held it before you swallow it. So there's really fast absorption. And the thing with the detoxification systems and, the metabolic systems. This is how, we can put you in ketosis in, 30, 40 minutes, because all these different compounds come to bear on the problem at the same time and rapidly at very high doses. Like I said, with the hydrogen, goes up, comes down. You see all these molecules, they go up. Some come down slower if they decay slower, like CBD. Some go in and go right away. It's the peak dose and all of them working together. We call it biosynchronous activation, that every one of the compounds in liver sauce comes to bear on the problem, activates the cell, turns up the liver, pulls the toxins in, turns up the bile flow. It's calming down mast cells at the same time that all this traffic of trash is moving from the periphery down into the liver. So you have high amounts in rapidly, and then they can go away, and you don't have to sit on these loads all day. If you were taking capsules, berberine absorbs over like 8 hours. Quercetin, like over, it peaks in your blood in 5.5 hours. It's like, well, fuck that. I need this now. I need it on the problem, on the spot, and doing it. And that's what these delivery systems do.
All right. Any final questions here for Dr. Shade, or are we done here? Chris, you take about 20 of Dr. Shade's products. Any questions? No, you're good?
I talked to Zero last year and this year.
All right, cool. All right, guys.
Bless you.
Any final farewell thoughts here, Dr. Shade?
The final farewell is always just talking about the autonomic nervous system and mindfulness. You get frenetic about doing all these things. You're not in the right headspace for detoxification. Remember, you're not in the right headspace for healing. So just remembering that, it's not your duty to do these things. You're doing these things to love yourself, to take care of yourself. And when you put yourself in that mind, especially when you're in detoxification, taking that time to do some breath work, it's a half-hour period when all this stuff is moving before that binder goes in. You take a little bit of time to get your mind steady and get it down. You'll find the effects are vastly stronger. You move more out. You feel better. You get more healing. You get regeneration. So just remember that mindfulness and self-love while you do it.